Alright, I'd like to show you a little bit about the SQL Loader. When you install ProWorks, right now we're just going to assume that you're installing it on a standard computer that you're not using the server. The installation runs just like any other Windows installation. That's great. But the first time that you set up a system, you need to initialize a database. And we have a tool here called SQL Loader. And it's a little tricky to run, so I'm going to show it to you first. What you do is, first thing, you need to find out what your computer name is. The easiest way is to right-click on the computer. I kind of need Windows 7. There's a similar one for Windows XP. And if you bring that up, of course it came up on my other screen here, you're going to get the computer name. In this case, it's PWRCL-TW7. So you need to make sure that you've got that name written down, all right, or memorized. At that point, what you want to do is you need to navigate to the SQL tools, and that is not a shortcut, so you have to dig for it. You need to go into Programs. Now here's the difference between XP and Windows 7. In XP or Windows 7 32-bit, you have a Program Files directory. When you have Windows 7 64-bit, you also have a Program Files 86. So if it's Windows 7 64-bit, you need to use the x86 directory. You won't see an Everett Charles directory in the Programs directory. So if you don't see Everett Charles, you know that you're in the wrong directory. So go to Programs Files 86, because this is a Win64 system. All right, go down to Everett Charles Technologies. Go to ProWorks. All right, and besides the ProWorks program, you'll see a Tools directory. And underneath Tools, you'll see SQL Loader. So go ahead and start that program by left-clicking on it. Okay, now you get this. You've got three options here on SQL Loader. We can create a database, we can update a database, or we can run a script. For installation purposes, you're just creating a database. Really, it's pretty simple, 2 steps. First one is you need to type in your actual server. So it was PWRCL-TW7. Now here's a trick here. It's going to say ProWorks, or it might say be blank here. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and use this down arrow here. And this is going to force the computer to scan for databases. All right. Now here you can see I mistyped in my database. All right. So it's going to give me an invalid server name. So now we'll go ahead and do it again. PWRCL-TW7. And now you can see I actually have databases listed. By default, you'll probably see Master, Model, and MSDB, and possibly Northwind. And those are all installed by Microsoft SQL Server Express. Sometimes Northwind is installed, sometimes it's not, depends upon the version that you have. So you'll see these. We don't care about those. I have some existing databases on this computer, but I want to go ahead and create a new one for you. So I'm going to call it ProWorks 99. It can be really anything you want. So you give it a name here, and then we say go. All right. First thing it's going to do is going to ask us for a password. Now this is extremely important that you keep this password to yourself. This is the password for the administrator. If you log on as an administrator within ProWorks, it's also the password used by the Microsoft in SQL tools. So go ahead and put in a password, and then you have to repeat it, and then you need to give it an email address. And once you do that, you can say OK. All right, now here, last page, we have to put a default file path. Most of the time, we're going to choose ProWorks. So I'll go to my computer, C, and ProWorks. There we go. All right, and we'll say OK. By default, I'll put reports in the subdirectory underneath ProWorks path. That's great. For report files, by default, we give you a date embedded report name. We find that's helpful. There are 2 extra fields you don't need to fill, but sometimes you might need to. First thing is an Exchange server for emails. Okay, if you don't put the Exchange server, it's going to use SMTP, which is just a basic mail service, which is perfectly fine. This one here is really important, though, for some people. It's the IP address for hasp key. All right. On larger networks, sometimes all the different clients have a hard time seeing where the hasp key is, because the hasp key is broadcasting its address out. And if it doesn't broadcast often enough, then sometimes the client won't see the hasp key on the server. And then sporadically you get a key not found error. If you actually put in the IP address, 3 numbers, dot, 3 numbers, dot, 3 numbers, dot, 3 numbers, of the server, then it'll know to check for the hasp key directly on the server. It just makes looking for the hasp key a little bit faster and more robust. Last thing here, there's a default, so when we make a change in a process, there's a default time. You can have the little change notification icon displayed. You can actually change it every time you release a new template, but there's this default here that you can put in. So once you do that, you say OK. All right, and it has created a database, and it's going to chug along for about a minute, doing all sorts of things, creating tables and stuff for you. And if you get to this point, you're pretty much successful. Just have to wait for it to finish up. We're getting close to being done. All right. We are done. So the database is all complete. This saved here. This button is to save this dialog here. If for some reason you're getting error messages and you need to send us a detailed description, you can hit save and save the error messages. So that's not a problem. If we have a major update, we might ask you to run the update database, which will just update the database for us to the current version. And there's also an option to drag a script into this box and run a script. And sometimes we have scripts to do special things to databases. We might add bill of materials or bill of tools or something for you. That's all there is to it in terms of creating the database. If we need to start up a database, if we need to start up, it should show up as a possibility there. If we hit Options, we go to ProWorks, and we should be able to see ProWorks. If we don't see it, all right, then what we need to do is go to Tools and refresh Database List. And what this does is it'll go out to the server and get all the databases that are available. So it's going to take a minute or so. All right. Now we've got ProWorks 99, which is our new database. All right. And so we can go ahead and log in. Now we just created this database, so there's no existing users except for the administrator. So we'll type in administrator and my password. This is why I said be absolutely sure to write that down. All right, and we are set. We have a brand new database. It's completely blank. We can start creating templates. All right. Probably the first thing that you will do is go into Administrative Tools, go to User Manager, and start adding some new users. Thank you very much.